So this is a very important and a very large topic of your of this course. Okay, and so this lecture covers this topic from two chapters of the book, chapter 7 and chapter 28. So some of the initial slides are from chapter 7, and then when we go to the analysis, it will be from chapter 28. The next lecture, the next slides will also be related to the same topic. Okay, it will be for a different type of highway, but it will be again related to capacity and level of service. So in this course, we will discuss the capacity and level of service for uninterrupted flow facilities. So we already know uninterrupted flow facilities are facilities which do not have any interruptions. Now, can someone tell me what are the interruptions? What do you mean by interruptions? Huh? What do we mean by interruptions? Which interruptions make the facility interrupted or uninterrupted? Come on, go ahead. What are the interruptions? It's written there in the slide as well, in front of you. What do we mean by interruptions? No one? Interruptions are intersections. Interruptions are intersections. So you can see the examples given here: signal, stop sign, yield signs. Okay. So if a facility does not have any interruption at all, we call it a freeway. Okay. So a freeway is a special type of uninterrupted flow facility which does not have any interruptions, do not have any intersections. Then there are some facilities which have interruptions, but these interruptions are very far from each other. Like they have given a value here, more than 2 miles from each other. Then these facilities or these highways can also be called as uninterrupted flow facilities. Okay, so we can have freeways which are pure uninterrupted facilities without any interruptions at all, and then we have facilities or highways which have interruptions more than 2 miles from each other. So they also come under uninterrupted flow facilities. So these facilities with these highways which have interruptions more than 2 miles from each other, they can be multi-lane highways or two-lane highways. They can be multi-lane highways or two-lane highways. So as you can see the difference here, multi-lane highway means it has multiple lanes, and two-lane highway means it has only 2 lanes. Okay, so multi-lane highways can be 4 lanes, 6 lanes, and so on. The procedure which we are going to follow in this topic is given by Highway Capacity Manual. So what is a highway capacity manual? Is a standard. It's a standard developed in USA, America, and it is adopted in many parts of the world. Okay, so it's not exclusive for them. So it's a US standard by which you can calculate capacity and level of service of highways. Okay, so the highway capacity manual tells you the procedure and the methodology to calculate the capacity and level of service of the highways. Capacity, we know, right? What is capacity? Yes, what do we mean by capacity? Anyone? What do we mean by capacity? If I say capacity of the highway is this much, what does it mean? Come on. This section is always more responsive than section 1. I don't know. You are having the hangover of Sunday. Capacity, very easy question. Okay, if you don't know, don't know. What can I do? I cannot tell you again and again. So this highway capacity manual is published by Transportation Research Board. Okay, in short, they call themselves TRB. If you search for TRB, you will find their website, you will find their journal. They have a annual conference as well. So it's a very big organization, and they work under National Academy of Engineering. So in USA, they have a National Academy of Engineering, and under which they have a special board for transportation research. The first manual was published in 1950, and the last manual, as per my knowledge, was published in 2016. And this is the one which we are using in the textbook. In 1994, they also developed a software at the MICTRANS Center of University of Florida. So they have a transportation center in the University of Florida, and this center developed a software to be used with the manual. So if you have this software, it is called as highway capacity software. Highway capacity software. So I don't have the latest version of it, but whichever version of that software you have, you can use it for doing the calculations of that particular manual. So if you have the highway capacity software of 2000, then you can do the calculations of highway capacity manual of 2000 and so on. But not having this software doesn't make much difference, because there are many other softwares available in the market. For example, some names are mentioned here: Vism, Synchro, Sidra. I'll give you some other names: Transit and Paramix. So these are the softwares which have inbuilt in them the calculation of highway capacity manual and highway capacity software. Okay, and these are multi-purpose software, so you can use it for calculating capacity and level of service and many other things. So not having highway capacity software is not an issue. In fact, if you have other softwares, it is more beneficial for you. So that's why I have asked you to use Vism in your project. Okay, and I will share the if any one of you has attended the previous guest lecture which we had last week. So in that, Mr. Samim mentioned that for most of these softwares, the student versions are available. Okay, so you can download the student version. I will share the tutorials with you. Okay, later on for Vism, because you are required to use it for your project. In 2000, the 2016 manual was published as a result of a research program. That research program is known as Strategic Highway Research Program, SHARP. Okay, in short, SHARP, Strategic Highway Research Program. So they started this program maybe 2010 or something, and they wanted to do some more research so they can update the 2010 manual. So they did not have in mind that they would have to publish a new manual, but they did so much research that in the end they got excited and they said, no, we will publish a new manual altogether. Instead of just changing few sections, we have so much data, let's publish a new manual. So they published a new manual. So in the 2016 manual, they have updated the analysis of the previous manual, and they have included some new things as well. For example, travel time reliability, that was not part of the old manual. Managing of managed lanes. What are managed lanes? Managed lanes are lanes which are exclusive for specific road users. For example, high occupancy lanes, bus lanes, bicycle lanes, they are known as managed lanes. And assessment of active traffic management strategies. So active means something you are managing traffic on the basis of real-time data or on the basis of future data. So what is going to happen in the future, I will predict it, and I will make its a strategy from now on. Okay, or you do it in real-time basis. Okay, that is also active traffic management. So you have a congestion on a particular highway, you do something so that demand for that highway will be reduced and congestion will be eradicated. So these are the new things which are included in the 2016 manual. Okay, according to the manual, capacity of a highway is defined as this. Okay, what I was asking earlier was basically this thing, which we already know: maximum flow rate for a facility. You already know that much, or you should know that much. Capacity is the maximum flow rate you can have on a facility. But in the manual, they have tried to elaborate it a bit more. So for example, now they are saying it can be maximum flow rate of vehicles or persons. In the previous chapters, we have only discussed the capacity in terms of number of vehicles, but it can be number of persons as well. For example, the design for metro in Bahrain has mentioned the capacity of metro service as 6,000 persons per hour per direction. 6,000 persons per hour per direction. What does it mean? Why? We know what does it mean. why the capacity is given in terms of number of persons? Because it's a public transportation system. Okay, for public transportation system, number of vehicles are not there. You are not accommodating vehicles. You are accommodating persons. Similarly, if you are designing a pedestrian bridge, again the capacity will be in terms of persons per hour. Okay, same thing for the bicycle lanes as well. And okay, then further to that elaboration, which number of maximum flow rate which can be reasonably expected. So normally we have used a fixed value as a capacity in the previous chapters. So that value which we are using theoretically is not a fixed value. Okay, a highway, the capacity which you are expecting on the highway may not be reached. Okay, so when you reach capacity, after capacity you have traffic jam, right? So you may not be able to reach the expected capacity of the highway because of driver behavior or because of some external conditions. There's construction work going on, the weather condition is not good, the drivers are not behaving properly. So in all these conditions, you may not reach the capacity which you are specifying. Even before the capacity, you may start to see the traffic jam, people stopping and so on. And the other way can happen as well. It can happen the vice versa as well, that you may exceed the capacity as well. The drivers are, the conditions are very good, the drivers are driving very smoothly, they are obeying the traffic laws and so on, they are very skilled. So you may actually exceed the capacity as well. But the capacity which we are defining is a reasonable expectation. So having a plus minus effect is not so high. Okay, so you may not reach the capacity maybe by, let's say, 20-30 vehicles. You may start to have traffic jam maybe 20-30 vehicles before the capacity, or maybe 30-40 vehicles after the capacity. Okay, it's not like you are saying capacity is 4,000 vehicles per hour and you only manage 3,000 vehicles per hour. Okay, the difference is not so much. So that's why we are saying reasonably expected. So most of the times the actual capacity of the highway is around this value which you are getting from the manual. Okay, and the capacity is for a point or a uniform section. Again, it's something which we discussed in lecture 3, that flow rate is measured for a point. All of you have measured the flow for 15 minutes in the first submission of your term project. So you were counting the vehicles over a point, right? Passing over a point. The same flow or the same capacity. So since capacity is flow, so it is for a point. By default, is for a point. But the same capacity can be expected for the entire section if it's a uniform section. Okay, so if the characteristics of the section are not changing, then capacity and flow at each point of the section will remain the same. Now, what do we consider under the characteristics of the section? We have to consider roadway conditions, environmental conditions, traffic and control conditions. Okay, these are the 4 things which can change the characteristics of the section. Roadway conditions meaning the geometric design of the road, number of lanes, widths, shoulders, medians, these things. Environmental conditions means weather conditions, roadside objects and other things. Traffic conditions include the type of vehicles, percentage of heavy vehicles, peak hour factor, these things. Control conditions means the use of the control devices, signals, roundabouts, stop signs, speed signs, markings and these things. Okay, so all these things can increase or decrease the capacity of the road. This table provides capacity of uninterrupted flow conditions, uninterrupted flow facilities under ideal conditions. What do we mean by ideal conditions? We will discuss it in detail later on. But these are like the base values, okay, the default of the base values. So you can see we have said we have 3 types of uninterrupted flow facilities: freeways and multi-lane highways and 2-lane highways. So you have 1 column for each of them. All capacities are given as passenger cars per hour per lane. All capacities are given as passenger cars per hour per lane. Okay. For 2-lane highways, this is the capacity of both directions, and this is the capacity of a single direction. So on 2-lane highways, both directions can reach up to capacity of 3,200 passenger cars per hour. For one direction, it can reach up to 1,700 passenger cars per hour per lane. 2 lane means 1 lane in each direction. Okay, 2 lane means 1 lane in each direction. So 3200 is for 2 lanes and 1700 is for 1 lane. For capacity of freeways and multi-highways, you need the free flow speed. You need the free flow speed. Okay. So freeways can have a free flow speed of 75 or more, but multi-highways are usually have usually lower design standards, so their free flow speeds are also lower. In any case, you can see the capacities for both of them. Okay, so you can see the capacity of freeway is always higher than multi-highways. Okay, and low speeds are not there on freeways and high speed is not there for multi-highways. Okay, now we come to the concept of LOS. LOS stands for level of service. Level of service. Okay, up till now we know 3 conditions of the road. We know 3 conditions of the road. We know traffic jam, we know capacity. We have used these conditions in the previous examples in lecture 3 and lecture 4 as well. So we know about capacity, we know about traffic jam, and we know free flow. Okay, capacity and traffic jam does not need any explanation. What did we mean by free flow? What do we mean by free flow? Anyone? If you are not answering my questions,
when density is low and the car can density is low and the car can flow freely and high speed.
Yeah, how much slow? It is almost what?
0.
0. It's almost 0. Yeah. Okay. So this is free flow. And these 3 are extreme conditions. These 3 are extreme conditions. You cannot use them for design or analysis. Okay, you cannot use these 3 extreme conditions for design of the road or analysis. Okay, why? If you are designing for free flow condition, that means density is almost 0. Density almost 0 means no demand. No demand. Why are you putting the highway there? If there's nobody demanding the highway, if there's nobody wants to use the highway, why are you constructing it then? Why are you designing it? So free flow conditions cannot be used. Traffic jam, obviously we know. You cannot design for traffic jam, right? You cannot design, okay, my highway will have traffic jam. I'm designing a highway for a traffic jam condition. It should have a traffic jam. No, nobody wants to have a traffic jam, right? And then we have capacity. Now in capacity conditions, the flow is moving or is supposed to move, but the operational conditions of the highway are still poor. The driver will still feel uncomfortable and inconvenient in the capacity conditions as well. Why? Capacity means the highway is completely full. You are moving, but you are following the other drivers. You are moving. You are not stopped. You are not in a queue. You are not in a traffic jam. You are moving, but your speed is very low, and your speed is dependent upon other drivers, and there are no gaps around you. So if you want to change your lane or make a turn, you have to depend upon other drivers to give you the way, to give you the space. Okay. So capacity itself is not a good condition of the road. Okay. It's the extreme which you can at which you can have the moving flow. Okay, the moving vehicles, but the drivers will not feel comfortable. Okay, so what they said that these 3 extreme conditions cannot be used for design, so we need to define some more levels. We need to define some more conditions of the road. So they came up with a scale which is known as level of service. Okay, and the level of service gives you complete range of operating conditions of the road. Okay, so up till now we already only knew 3 conditions which are extreme and which are not good for design, but they have defined the complete range now. So level of service includes the 3 extreme conditions plus 3 additional levels as well, which you can use for design. Okay, so this concept was introduced in 1965. Okay, and the level of service, so there was a manual published in 1965 in which this level of service term was used first. Okay, so level of service is a more convenient and a comprehensive way of defining the operational conditions of the road. And one interesting thing about it is that it has the same grades as your grades in the class. It has the same letters as your grades in the class. So like your grades in the class are from A, B, C to F. The grades for the highway can be also, level of service for the highway can also be A to F. Okay, so if you get an F in the course, give an F to your highway as well. Take your revenge. Obviously, it doesn't concern me. Then this is the definition of level of service given in 1965 as well as in 2000 manual. So they did not update it afterwards. Okay, don't worry that why are we studying the old definition. Definitions don't change. Definitions, terms do not change. They remain the same, right? So that's why there is no update in that. So level of service, as I said, denotes the operating condition of the lane or road under given volume. It's a quality measure. Okay, you define the flow of the highway as a qualitative measure. Okay, like A, B, C, D, E, F, and within the traffic stream meaning the volume, and it is impacted by service measures. Now, what are service measures? Service measures include, just give me a second. Okay, what are service measures? Service measures are the factors which affect the level of service. Service measures are the factors which affect the level of service. So operational condition of the highway is defined by level of service, and level of service is affected by the service measures. Okay, so what are the service measures? Speed and travel time. We know they are interrelated. Speed increases, travel time decreases. Freedom to maneuver. Maneuver means changing the lane, accelerating, decelerating, changing your direction. They are all maneuvers. So how free you are to do these things. Okay, so freedom to maneuver increases. That means the operational conditions are good, and vice versa. Traffic interruptions. We know, we have already discussed intersections, signals, and these things. Comfort and convenience. This is related to the driver. So comfort level, how comfortable you are feeling while driving in this traffic condition. Okay, so obviously when traffic increases, your comfort level is low, right? In congested conditions, you feel less comfortable as compared to free flow conditions. With the passage of time, you even become more comfortable, but again, comparatively, you will always feel better in free flow conditions as compared to congested conditions, right? And if you are inexperienced, then you know the difference is very high. You know, for example, I will give you a personal example. Usually, I drive the car. You know? My wife has a license, and she sometimes drives, but most of the times I drive the car. So I have more experience. So whenever I get into a congested street or in a congested area, my wife is more scared than me. Although I am driving, but she is the one more scared. Okay, why? Because you know. Simply because you know, because of the experience, right? But again, if you ask me, I will also feel more comfortable on free flow conditions compared to congested conditions. And convenience is the ease by which you are driving. Okay, how so comfort level is related to the mental condition of the driver, and convenience is related to how easily he is performing the driving actions, how easily he can maintain the speed, increase or decrease it, changes direction or whatever. Okay, so all these things affect the level of service, and we call them service measures. So we said service level of service levels are from A to F. So you can see the description of 5 of them. Okay, level of service E is capacity. So after E you will have F, right? After E you will have F. So if level of service E is capacity, then F will be what? F will be which condition? After capacity you have, sorry?
Free flow?
No, after E, after capacity, not after. What do you have after capacity?
Traffic jam?
Traffic jam, yeah, traffic jam. Okay, so F is traffic jam. You don't need to define it, we know it. F is traffic jam. Okay, so E is capacity. D is maximum sustainable flow. Now, as I said earlier, capacity is a very doubtful condition because the road, there are no gaps in the road, there are no gaps on the road. So at capacity conditions, it is difficult to maintain sustainable flows. Like for example, the highway is operating at capacity, and some driver, one of the drivers wants to change his lane. This driver, while changing the lane, will cause the flow to stop. This driver, while he's trying to change the lane, will cause the flow to stop. So although the highway is at capacity, the flow should move, but because of one or two drivers, because of driver behavior, or because of any other factor, the flow may stop for a few seconds. Okay, and it is not related to the demand of the highway. Okay, so in capacity conditions, the flow may not be sustainable. Okay, so before that, just before you reach capacity, the flow can be sustainable. So we call it maximum sustainable flow, at which one or two particular drivers may not cause the flow to stop. Okay, then we have level of service C, which is practical capacity for urban facilities. Level of service B is practical capacity for rural facilities, and level of service is high operating, which means high operational conditions, meaning free flow. So level of service A is basically free flow. So they have defined B and C as practical capacity. What do we mean by practical capacity? Before you reach the actual capacity of the road, we have two conditions of density. From 0 to capacity, within that range, we have two conditions of density. From 0 to a particular level, which they are calling as practical capacity here, the other drivers, you and the other drivers have so much spacing between them that you are not directly impacted by their flow, by their movement. Okay, so up to that point we call it practical capacity. So practical capacity is a maximum flow of vehicles at which the density is not very high. Okay, and your flow is not impacted by so much by other drivers. Okay, when you go beyond practical capacity, the spacing decreases significantly. That means density has increased, right? Spacing and density vice versa, right? So spacing has reduced, that means density has increased. And now the spacing is so small that your flow is directly impacted by other drivers. Okay, now the spacing has become so small that your flow, your movement is directly impacted by the other drivers. So practical capacity is the flow rate at which, the maximum flow rate at which the spacing is sufficient for you to drive without so much impact of the other driver. And after that, after you go beyond practical capacity, now the spacing has become less and your flow is now impacted by other drivers. Okay, service measures, as I said earlier, service measures are the things which we use for calculating the level of service. So you can see they have mentioned service measures for three types of highway facilities: interrupted flow facilities, uninterrupted flow facilities, and other road users, transit, pedestrian, bicyclists. So we'll not go in detail of this, the third one. We'll just go through the first one and the second one. For interrupted flow facilities, they have average travel speed for streets. If you have an interrupted street, then we use average travel speed. So we know, take the speed of different vehicles, do the average, it will give you average travel speed, right? There's no problem in that. Then they have, for intersections, they are using control delay. For intersections, the service measure is control delay. The level of service is calculated using control delay. Now we have learned about control delay in the last chapter. No, sorry, the chapter before that. There were questions on the blackboard about control delay. There was question in the exam about control delay. Tell me, what is control delay? Tell me. What is control delay? I'm still checking your answers. If you don't give me the answer, I will cancel the question of control delay. I will give 0 to everybody there. Tell me.
when the flow is the lower.
Sorry?
When we have lower flow.
When we have what?
Lower flow.
No. Control delay. I'm asking about control delay. What do you mean by control delay? It's not a traffic condition. Control delay is a parameter you calculate. You calculate it for signals in your exam. It's not related to any flow or something.
The delay in each intersection, for example.
What does it include?
Signal time delay, for example, the red light.
Signal time delay, red light. So why are they mentioning it for other intersections then? They're mentioning control delay for roundabout as well. There is no red light on the roundabout. Anyways, go back, read the definition of control delay. Okay, I have not explained again. Then we have uninterrupted flow facilities. So uninterrupted flow are three types: two-lane highways, multi-lane highways, and basic freeways. For multi-lane highways and basic freeways, we use density. For multi-lane highways and basic freeways, we use density. For two-lane highways, we use two things: average travel speed and time spent following. Okay, so these are two things. So two-lane highways can have two levels of service. One by using percentage time spent following, and the other one by using average travel speed. Okay, so these are two parameters. There is not one term. This is not a single term. Okay, these are two terms mentioned in two different lines. So average travel speed, we know it. Calculate the average travel speed of different cars. Time spent following. What do you mean by time spent following? The time when your flow is affected by the driver in front of you. The time in which your flow, your movement is affected by the driver in front of you. Okay, so if he decelerates, you have to decelerate as well. If he is accelerating, then only you have the chance to accelerate, and so on. So percentage time spent following means how much of your what percentage of your trip time you are spending in this condition. How much percentage of your travel time is you are spending in this condition? Well, you are dependent upon the other driver. Okay, so this is percentage time spent following. Okay, then we have the concept of service flow rate. So we know flow rate. Okay, again, service flow rate is the maximum flow rate, again, which can be reasonably expected. Again, so when we are using the word expectation here, okay, which can be reasonably expected under prevailing conditions of road traffic and control conditions. And I told you what do we mean by this, while maintaining a particular level of service. This is something new here, because again, if you compare this definition with capacity, up to here it is the same. Up to here it is same, but then we are adding this one here. So service flow rate, let me rephrase it to make it easier for you. The maximum flow rate which you can have under given conditions for a specific level of service. Maximum flow rate you can have for given conditions to maintain a specific level of service. Okay, so this is why it is also known as the capacity of the level of service. Capacity of the level of service. Okay, so now we have capacity of the road, we have the capacity of the road, and we can have capacity of each level of service as well. Capacity meaning up to this value, the level of service is this much. After this value, this level of service will not remain. For example, you can see the scale over here. So we have level of service A to F, right? So you can see, let's say this is the service flow rate for A, service flow rate for level of service A. So when you exceed this value, level of service A will not remain. You will enter level of service B. So for example, level of service is A for A is 1000. So from 0 to 1000, you are maintaining a level of service A. When you go beyond 1000, your level of service will change. Okay. So for example, service flow rate for B is 1200. So for A it is 1000, for B it is 1200. So from 0 to 1000, you will maintain level of service A. After 1000 to 1200, you will maintain level of service B, and so on. So this is what we mean by service flow rate. Okay, the maximum value at which the level of service can be maintained. Okay, So you can see here service flow rate is mentioned for A, B up to E, and we said E is the capacity. E is the capacity. So service flow rate of E is the capacity of the road as well. Okay, service flow rate for E is the capacity of the road. Okay, so the other levels of service are the capacity for that level of service, but level of service E has a service flow rate which is equal to the capacity of the road. And after the capacity, we have level of service F. We already explained it. This is traffic jam condition, so that's why you don't see any service flow rate here, right? Because in F, that level of service actually, sorry, the flow rate is actually decreasing. In traffic jam, the flow rate is actually decreasing, so that's why we cannot have a service flow rate for F. Then, if you have service flow rate, you can calculate service volume as well. So, if you have maximum flow rate for a level of service, you can calculate its corresponding maximum volume as well by multiplying with the peak hour factor. So you multiply with the peak hour factor, you convert flow rate into volume. Now what in these slides we will only discuss basic freeways and multi-lane highways. Okay, two-lane highways we will discuss in the next lecture. Basic freeways are, as I said, pure uninterrupted, no intersections. All the entries and exits for the highway are from ramps. All the entries and exits for the highways are are from ramps, and ramps are not considered as interruption because drivers to and from the ramp do not interrupt the flow on the highway. Drivers to and from the ramp do not interrupt the flow on the highway. The interruption only comes when it is a intersection. So on freeways we only have ramps, no intersections. Okay. No driveway access as well, no access from the driveways or garages, no parking beside the road. Okay, within the right of way of the road, no parking allowed. So we have full control of access. When you reach these conditions, using only ramps, no intersections, no access, no parking, this is what we call as full control of access. Coming into the highway is fully controlled. Okay, and freeways are defined by the number of lanes in them. Freeways are defined by number of lanes in them for both directions. Okay, so if you have a freeway, you will tell me it is a 4-lane freeway or a 6-lane freeway or 8-lane freeway. You have to tell me the number of lanes. Then we have multi-lane highways. As I said, the interruptions are more than 2 miles from each other, and multi-lane highways are defined by their number of lanes as well as their median type. Okay, freeways are multi-lane highways are defined as defined by number of lanes as well as their median type. In the picture, so you will tell me it's a 4-lane multi-lane highway or 6-lane multi-lane highway and so on, and then you have to tell me whether it is divided or undivided. Divided means with median, undivided means without median. Okay, so you can see in the picture, the 2 pictures, you can see divided highway. Both of them are divided. Here they are using concrete barrier, and here they are using plantation. But in both cases it is divided. This is the median. Okay, so if it is a 4-lane highway with median at the multi-lane highway, you will call it 4-lane divided multi-lane highway. If it is a 4-lane highway without median, multi-lane highway without median, you will call it 4-lane undivided highway. Okay, so you have to tell me the number of lanes, and you have to also specify whether it is divided or undivided. Okay, so this is how you do it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will open the attendance. Just a word here. Okay, what I'm experiencing here. You should have spoken up. Okay. Yeah, this is true. Delay definition is true, and the major effectiveness for signals. I don't know what you mean here. Anyways, you guys need to speak up. You guys are I don't know, saving yourself in Ramadan. I'm speaking more than you. You can at least give me a 2-second answer, right? You can at least give me a 2-second answer. You owe me that much. I'm speaking 45 minutes continuously, and you cannot speak for 5 seconds. And this is not what we mean by fasting. Okay, fasting doesn't mean that you don't do your job. Okay. Hissa Ahmad, Ali Khalil, Qusay Ahmad, and Yusuf Ahmad Nidam. Hissa, Ali, Qusay, and Yusuf.
Yes, sir, Yusuf.
Yusuf is here. Okay. Qusay is here. Hissa is here. Hawra Nasir, Ali Muhammad is here. Okay. Hawra Nasir. Balkis Hamad, Hala Munir, Abdurrahman Muhammad. Balkis, Hala, Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman is here. Osai is here. Balkis and Hala not here. Okay. Sara Ali, Muntadir Hussain. Okay, Muntadir Hussain. Saleh is here. Ahmad Muhammad Mahdi is here. Sara Khamis, Zainab Ali Ahmad. Okay, Zainab Ali Ahmad. Okay, section 1. Okay, who is from section 1? Lulwa, Bayan, Ala, Huda, Sozan. Ala, Sozan, Bayan, Lulwa, Huda. Okay, done. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.